All right, today is Wednesday, May 7th, 2025. It is 6:46 p.m. Central Time in beautiful Merriam, Kansas, ready for the city's planning committee meeting.
Yeah, I mean, they had the original platform, the lady came up and most of my group over there. So it's pretty, it's been moving in some dirt and some grade and stuff like that. And then once you kind of started doing that, you realized that you wanted to come back and plat a lot of those easements, plat that area, show them where you want to do detention along there. So since he hadn't filed at the county yet, so that's why. Come back, just kind of reunify, which is good. And we also, we put them at the front of the agenda, so you didn't have to stay for, long stuff for the next part of the agenda. So that's why you're just gonna add a little bit of food. You never know, right, and that might be the case.
Wouldn't be surprised. What's the drug that would be? Rice cooker? Yeah.
You know, when I got here 16, 17 years ago, they used to have cattle out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Van Buren houses live over this way too.
The white, house that's just back in here, that's the homestead. And now, Van Mean houses don't own that. I think there's still one or two Van Mean houses that are around the corner of this side.
That area.
Yeah, that was the mom had that white old farmhouse for forever. And then she passed and sold that house. So there's only a couple Van Mean houses still there. Even Billy, how are you?
Outstanding.
Good to see you. Sorry.
What? Oh, yeah. I don't care. Quite a few people. Awesome.
This is the one?
For this meeting, yeah.
Is that right?
This is extraordinary for planning commission. They announced they showed the like plot plans for the Merriam North Grand Station thing last month, and I was the only member of the public there, I think. No, there was a reporter also there, but no other neighbors.
You put this online and stuff, or what?
Yeah, I do.
Hi. There used to be an older guy that used to do it.
Yeah, Sam is here.
Yes,
Yep. I miss Sam.
I do too. Yeah, you kind of taking his place, that's great.
He's left some big shoes to fill. I wish I had gotten to know him better.
Yeah.
At the time, when we were both attending meetings, I was still a little bit naive and overly trusting of staff and just assumed that everything the city staff did was always the very best for us in every way. And so anyone who ever questioned or thought was obviously just a troublemaker, and that's really unfortunate. I'm wiser now.
Yeah. Good. Good. We need people like you.
Thanks.
Yes, he would. Best case scenario.
That's great. How you doing?
Fine. How's everybody doing?
Wonderful.
Good.
And you?
Living the dream.
How'd it go?
How you doing?
Outstanding.
Hi, Bill, you're good.
How are you?
I'm good. Making you good this evening? Rain stopped just in time.
If anybody here from the public is planning on coming up and speaking during the public hearing portion of the meeting, if you could sign a sheet in the hallway. Okay. Okay, just curious.
You're tired, does that mean you're tired again?
Yes. 5 minutes, for public comment, and the chair will state your name and the address. And sometimes if I don't hear it, it's always nice to have it written down.
And what we do, we'll write it down.
Okay, thank you.
Any vice president,
Yes,
Yeah.
12 days.
see when John Jackson retired, when John Jackson retired.
Finish up
Yeah.
district's test.
John Jackson.
I see her still all the time.
Nancy,
Home Depot,
is there gonna be a hearing today?
Aldi
The
sometimes.
public hearing on the second item.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, the next time you see him, tell him I said that.
No, it's been great. Oh, you take it.
Yeah, I'm
Take
glad.
it. Take it front row.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Really? Oh my God. I wish I was 5 years later. Get my health insurance. And even, I wasn't 55 when I retired, so I had to be on, marketplace for 2.5 years. But, you know what, it was all good.
When I first started looking at it, then all of a sudden, 5 years passed.
My marketplace.
Anyway, started to go to, get the show on the road here. No. This one's mine. True.
I think we're all there.
It's better what she said. So, can I ask a question? Do you publish what you put out? I mean,
I do.
like you share an email with whoever it wants?
Yeah, would you like a card?
Yeah, yeah. I don't get to come all the time.
Yeah, I have an archive of planning commission meetings going back at least a year and a half at this point, so.
Awesome.
So give me an email, I'll send you a link. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to find on YouTube, there's so much stuff.
Oh,
But
Well, that's outside, I was telling you.
who this is called?
We found out
Oh, we're together.
from our homeowners association treasurer about this meeting too.
Yeah.
He said, I've kind of been neglecting and letting people know what's going on. And there's always been blah, 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 blah. But there's a meeting Wednesday night if you really, so that's how we heard about it. Our homeowners, secretary treasurer.
that's a good person to have in your HOA board, stays involved and stuff.
Well, he always does this about picnics and for, you know, the little.
Used to be Party in New Park that Merriam would do. Now
Yeah,
it's
exactly,
called
but
something
now
else.
that, since it's in the neighborhood and you know, the noise complaints or the traffic, and he goes like, oh, I'm gonna let you all know.
Are you guys real close to the construction area for this?
We're in Vernon Place, just south, we're at 66 Terrace.
Okay.
So yes,
That's pretty close.
when the cement trucks lined up, you could hear them at 2 o'clock in the morning. We could,
The undergrounding is
and,
probably,
and the dogs, when one of them, when the trucks
yeah,
and the noise,
the dogs start.
he just,
Our dogs are very sensitive ears too.
yeah.
So they should be talking about the luxury apartments that they're wanting to build, and then the grocery store and Chipotle gets to stay, but not the coffee place. Right, they're gonna get rid of the coffee place.
Well,
Here.
yeah, we
Gas
just
station's
drove by
gone.
it tonight, and it's like, somebody's gonna have to go,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
You wanna promote businesses,
Chipotle, I'm pretty sure was built by these guys.
well,
They helped finance or direct it, like, it's usually
because
skip the money.
Chipotle is where the Taco Bell used to be, and then they moved down the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah, I do think Caribou's lot is very unfortunately graded. Exiting Caribou on the Shining Mission is always a nose scraper in my car.
oh, yeah,
So that's,
well, and you look out your window and you see Starbucks.
yeah. Oh, wow, yeah.
I'm sorry, there it is.
The local competition, huh?
Yeah, we want to encourage mom and pop and little businesses, but, well, I loved it when Walgreens and CVS would just conveniently, 75th Mint, 75th and Warren, just convenient.
Yeah. Well, there's two of them right on Neiman's too.
Yeah, just conveniently, right across the
In
street.
like glaring distance.
And it's like 75th and Warren could have been cheap.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, they're convenient.
Yeah. Well, our tax commission,
I'll call to order May 7th, 2025 Merriam Planning Commission meeting. Please join us in reciting pledge allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the recording secretary please take a roll?
Bill Bailey,
Here.
Nita Dillon, Mitchell Fowler,
Here.
Russ Harmon,
Here.
Kelsey Cone. Here. Sarah Lindell Here. Sean McConnell,
Here.
Daniel Molina,
Here.
Cole Stevens. Thank you.
Commission members have received a copy of the minutes from April the 2nd, 2025 meeting. Are there any comments or corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion for approval?
I move, we approve the minutes of 4/2/25.
Second?
I second.
There's a motion and a second for approval of the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Business to be conducted for the evening. First item is PA 24-000003, St. Joseph's final plat. Mr. Dyer.
Good evening, Commissioners, Chair, Brian Dyer, Community Development Director. This first item up for you this evening is a final plat for St. Joseph. It's for area located just south of 47th and Knox on the west side of Knox Street. This is a plat you all saw back in September, on September 24th. The City Council approved this back on September 24th. You guys saw it the first Wednesday of September of last year. The reason the applicant is back is because they've started doing some mass grading there. And as part of that mass grading, they've determined where they would like to put the detention pond and the drainage easements. And they want to memorialize that through the plating process. If the plat hadn't been filed with the county yet, they can definitely just come back here and revise the plat. But since it's such a significant change, we did request that they come back through the planning process and through the planning commission and city council. It's still the same number of lots, still 6 single-family lots. The biggest change is that a couple of lots, lot 5 and 6, are going to reduce in size a little bit to accommodate tract A. You see it up here on your screen down in the bottom left-hand corner. So the tract A is, the purpose of tract A is it's going to be a detention pond for the entire project. So all the water, any kind of stormwater runoff will drain from the north to the south down to tract A. And by calling it tract A and getting it out of the other lots, it's a lot easier for them to set up with the restrictive covenants and easements for the maintenance of tract A. So that is a change. Again, still same number of lots. All the lots are definitely large enough and meet all their size requirements. So with that, staff will be happy to answer any questions.
Does the commission have any questions for staff?
Brian, my question was around the upkeep documents. Do those have to be resubmitted at any point if there becomes an issue?
So they have not submitted them yet. Excuse me, let me rephrase that. They had not submitted them previously. They just recently have submitted them for staff review. Once staff gets done with the review of them, they'll have to file them with the county. So they had not filed those documents yet. So the documents will match up nicely with the plot. So they will not have to go back through the process of refiling those documents.
Okay.
Any other questions or concerns for the staff? Does the applicant wish to make a presentation? I should say, is the applicant present?
I can leave the, if that's okay.
Takes care of that. Takes care of that. Is there a motion?
I move planning commission approve with conditions listed by staff report PA 24-00-002 St. Joseph final plat, properly generally located at 4712 Knox Avenue, and forwarding to the city council for acceptance of the assessment dictated by the plan.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to the second order of business. RZ 25-00001/PUD 25-00000 01 rezoning and preliminary development plan for the Grand Station Marketplace. Mr. Dyer.
So this evening, before you open the screen you have there that we're talking about, right, getting ready to talk about again, as the chair mentioned, this is a rezoning request to plan unit development general, along with the associated preliminary development plan. So the area we're talking about is outlined in red. So to the north is West 62nd Terrace, to the east is Antioch, along the south side of Shine Mission Parkway, and then the boundary goes over to IKEA Way. It does not include the Chipotle property, so that's the property that is outlined and cut out of the area in there. I think we're all pretty familiar with the area. The applicant is Drake Development. They are also the folks who are doing, almost completed, the south side, the Merriam Grand Station, the redevelopment, the old Kmart property. I have to say Drake Development has performed excellently on the south side on that project. They've been an excellent partner with the city. So now they're coming over on the north side. Also would say this is something that's been anticipated. Those of you who've been in this process for a number of years probably remember the 2013 Shine Mission Parkway corridor plan. Corridor plan was something that envisioned the redevelopment of this area, envisioned this redevelopment of this area in a manner that's mixed use with commercial and multifamily. So this is something that we've been anticipating for a number of years. So real quickly going through the area. This does not show up very well on the screen, so I apologize for that. So starting at the bottom left down there was the Shell station that was developed. It's been a gas station since the early 50s, and is obviously redeveloped a number of times. The most recent remodel of that was, or redevelopment of that was in the 1980s. Going up to the north, there is a vacant office building that fronts IKEA Way. That was constructed also in the 50s as well. That is vacant currently. And then as we head from that building back to the east, a couple of vacant lots there, or parking lots. Those are lots that were previously part of the library. Those are lots that the city has recently purchased. Those are zoned planning and development general. The other two areas are zoned commercial. And as we continuing to the east, going on the other side of Slater, it's another office building. It was constructed all as well in the 1950s. It is housed by a business called Possibilities. The developer, Great Development, is working with Possibilities to relocate them as we speak. They are relocating them to an office building that's at Maston in Shine Mission Parkway. They're behind Russell Stover's, so they're working relocation them. The other buildings on that corner include the library maintenance building that the city of Merriam owns, as well as the library branch building. The library branch building was originally, again, also constructed in the 1950s. It's obviously been added on to a number of times. It is currently vacant, as well as the maintenance facility is also currently vacant. And then the last parcel is the parcel on the northeast corner of Slater and Shine Mission Parkway. That is the Caribbean Coffee Building. That was constructed in 1980. Those areas over there are zoned a variety of things, commercial office, as well as commercial one, or our neighborhood commercial designation. I think it's important to note that if this plan is approved and the project does go forward, everything in that red box will be gone and make way for the new development. The only thing that would stay, even though it's not part of this request, is the Chipotle building. Also, it's important to note that Drake has contracts on those properties, or the city owns the property, and they have agreements with the property owners to allow them to act as owner agents to come forward with this development proposal. Those properties that Drake has contracts on, obviously they will purchase it if this project does go forward. So again, covered a little bit on this. This is the zoning within the project area. Again, blue is planning and development general. The reds are commercial. So going to the neighborhood of the surrounding area, I'll start up at the northeast again, which is the U.S. Bank building. That is the blue area that's there on the east side of Antioch. Zone planning and development general, I think we're all familiar with it, is U.S. Bank property, as well as there's also a vacant property that's just to the north of that. That is also zone planning and development general. Heading to the south, Vernon Place, that is the area that is yellow, that is single family residences and is R1 zoning. Then as we head to the west, so directly to the south, across Shine Mission Parkway, that is the Merriam Grand Station development. Again, The zoning of that is planning unit development general. That is, as we know, is the redevelopment area that's undergoing right now. Mixed use is with multifamily, retail, and restaurants. And then to the west, Vernon BMW Mini, also zone planning unit development general. Then on the north side, we have City Hall, where we're at right now, and then also commercial office zoning. And then next to that is the one residential zoning area that is to the north of that. That is the multifamily building that's zone R5. And then there to the east of Slater, north of West 62nd Terrace, those areas are zone commercial, a variety of uses, a couple of 3 single-family dwellings, a daycare, and then also an office building there. So before I go actually into the development plan, this obviously, as I mentioned earlier, is a rezoning request. Part of the rezoning request involves the golden factors. The golden factors are within in your staff report. Things important to know on the golden factors, those are things you must just consider as you review a rezoning request. Not necessarily, there aren't tests or anything like that. They fail one, that doesn't mean we'll recommend denial or anything like that. It's just thoughts that and considerations the Planning Commission and City Council must have when we reconsider zoning. I covered a number of them already: neighborhood zoning issues, nearby zoning and uses, suitability of private to current zoning, as in the staff report, as we mentioned. A number of those buildings don't meet current setbacks as they are zoned. Also, to the extent in which the requested zoning will detrimentally affect nearby property. Again, we feel that the development plan with the landscaping and the screening that it's going to provide, which I'll go through here in just a second, does provide a nice buffer to the area. So it's going to provide amenities to the area, so we feel it will not have a negative impact on the surrounding properties. And then kind of the last one that I'm going to cover, there's some others in there, but again, conformance with the master plan. As I mentioned earlier, this does conform with the Merriam Comprehensive Plan 2040, as well as the Merriam, the Shawnee Mission Parkway corridor plan. Just a little bit more before I go into the development plan. The applicant did hold a neighborhood meeting. They said they had 4 attendees. They said it went well. The summary of the meetings within your staff report. And then the other thing I want to mention is, while it's not part of the Planning Commission's purview, I do think I do need to mention that the developer is requesting a public-private partnership with the city in the form of a variety of financial things, such as tax increment financing, industrial revenue bonds, and community improvement district. Again, it's not part of the Planning Commission's review. That is the City Council's purview. That's what they will be deliberating, but I think it is important that we all understand and realize that that is part of the request. So with that, I will go through, preliminary development plan. So preliminary development plans up there on the screen. Again, I apologize that it's not showing up as well. I think projectors are starting to get a little old. Just to let everybody know where we're at, here is IKEA Way, Shawnee Mission Parkway, Slater, it's right through the middle, West 62nd Terrace is along the top, Antioch is here. So, Vernon BMW is over here, and what the preliminary development plan is showing is the development of a 212 unit multifamily apartment complex that is this located right here. So this is the shell building. This is the vacant office building. Right over here is the Chipotle that will remain. So they're proposing to build a apartment complex here. The apartment complex will be 4 stories on top of a 2-level parking structure. I'll show that here in just a little bit more how the parking structure is going to work. And again, very similar to what is being done on the other side of the street. So again, Slater, as we go to the other side of Slater, here is the commercial area, portion of this area. So right here, we located a 4,000 square foot restaurant. It could be 1 or 2 restaurants, depending on what the tenants what tenants are in there. And over here is a 12,500 square foot proposed grocery store. Again, a grocery store is something that the community has stated they want and brought back to the city of Merriam. This is something that staff hears on a regular basis as well as the city council. So this is obviously something that the community has stated they feel is a need, and this is one of those things that will address those needs, obviously, is bringing a grocery store back to Merriam. The other part I want to point out here is the dash lines. These are the pedestrian connections, so they show sidewalks around the perimeter of the development as well as on Slater. A couple of public improvements I want to show here is there will be, this project will install a crosswalk on the east side of SMPKWY and Slater Street, Edie, across Cheyenne Mission Parkway. Currently, to get north to south or south to north across Cheyenne Mission Parkway, you have to go west across to Evie and north, and then back to the east across SMPKWY. So obviously putting on a direct connection makes sense. There currently is a crosswalk over here on the other at the intersection of Cheyenne Mission Parkway and Antioch. The other public improvement I want to put in here, notice right here, is there was a traffic impact study that was done on this. The traffic impact study was submitted and accepted by the city engineer. Traffic impact study showed that the current infrastructure and streets could handle the additional traffic and at the same level as currently are, provide the same level of service, with the addition of a left turn lane. So there'll be a left turn lane for folks who are northbound on Antioch to make the west or left-hand turn on West 62nd Terrace. So there will be currently, if you're familiar with that area, there's not striped northbound left turn lane. So what it's going to be is a two-way turn lane. So it's one of those turn lanes where if you're going southbound, you can make a left-hand turn to go eastbound Cheyenne Mission Parkway. And if you're northbound on Antioch, you can make a left-hand turn to go westbound on West 62nd Terrace. So that will also be installed as part of this development. So again, a little bit difficult to see, but up on the screen now is a turning template to demonstrate that a delivery truck can maneuver within the parking lot, as well as the vision triangles to show that there will be nothing in there to hinder vision of pedestrians or vehicle traffic as they maneuver through the area. Couple things I do want to point out is up here at 62nd Terrace and Antioch, this is the location of where there currently is a retaining wall. That retaining wall is about 10 foot high, so it's pretty far out towards the intersection. That retaining wall will go away. There will be a new retaining wall put in place. It will be a little lower, about 7 feet, and it will be further back and away from the intersection. Currently, they're showing it being the plans show that retaining wall a little bit into the vision triangle. In discussions with the applicant, they said it would be no problem to move that just a little bit further out of the vision triangle. Again, just improve vehicular safety, making sure everybody can have vision at that corner. Again, this is simply retaining wall right here. The highest point will be right at the corner at 7 feet above the ground. A little bit about the impervious surface of the stormwater. There is going to be a reduction in impervious surface area, or approximately 5%. That means that there's not a requirement for stormwater detention, since there's no known issue with stormwater up there at that corner right now. We do have a requirement and are require them to put in best management practices, or BMPs. With stormwater, there's really two aspects of stormwater. There's the quantity, that's the detention part, and then there's the quality. And the quality is exactly that. How clean is that stormwater as it works its way through the system towards the creek. And to address the quality of the stormwater, they will be installing a mechanical system. Essentially, it's a sand, oil, debris separator to separate those things from the water as it goes through the stormwater system. They have provided a photometric plan. This is the lighting that will be on the site. This is just for the east side, east block, so they do realize and do know that they need to provide a photometric plan for the west side when they get closer to figuring out what the lighting situation is gonna be for that side. And then, the signage for the proposed signage. They are proposing 2 monument signs. One monument sign will be located on the main entrance off of West 62nd Terrace. The other monument sign will be located at Slater and Shining Mission Parkway. This is one of the deviations from the sign code they're requesting, because sign code does require that the secondary monument sign, the one on 62nd Terrace, be smaller. They were requesting that both signs be the same size. And then, this is the landscape plan. Again, heavily landscaped around the perimeter of it. A number of street trees. Obviously, there's not very many street trees that are located now. Be a large amount of foundation plantings along the buildings, as well as plantings and screenery, low-level green to screen the area of the parking lot from the street. So, again, and also as well as some interior landscaping. On to what the buildings will look like. This is the restaurants. This is the 4,000 square foot restaurant. Again, it could be 1 or 2 tenants, depending on what the situation is. The top here is the east elevation. So this is the elevation that is going to be facing inward, be facing towards the parking lot. And then down here on the left is the north elevation. So this is the elevation towards West 62nd Terrace. This will be the south elevation, so the elevation toward Shining Mission Parkway. And then finally at the bottom is the west elevation, so that's the elevation towards Slater Street. Again, high quality materials, EFS, masonry, exterior finishes, quite a large amount of glazing. Again, similar to what they are doing on the south side, but again, different, has its own feel to it. This is the proposed grocery store building. This is, again, very similar, EFS, brickwork, high quality exterior materials. I think the main thing I like to point out on this is this does show signage on all 4 facades. So the code only allows 3 facades to have signage unless there's a sign package that's approved or a deviation from the sign code. So again, this is another deviation that they're requesting to have signage on all 4 facades. So real quickly, the top facade, that's the north facade, so that's the one that's going to face 62nd Terrace. This is the main entryway. It's going to face the main field of parking. The west elevation, this is the elevation that will face towards Slater Street, towards the restaurant. This is the east elevation. This is the elevation that is along Antioch Road, and then down at the bottom will be the south elevation, the elevation that faces onto Shining Mission Parkway. And then the last thing is the elevations for the apartment complex. Again, as I mentioned earlier, 4 stories on top of a 2-level parking structure. So this top elevation, this is the elevation that is going to be facing to the north, so this faces West 62nd Terrace. Well, it's a little hard to see down there. I think you can kind of see my mouse. This is going to be the entryway into the upper level of the parking structure. Again, they're using the contours of the street. I think we're all familiar with IKEA way as it falls down. So the upper level, or the 62nd Terrace level, will be the level that enters into the upper part of the parking structure. And then down here, the bottom elevation, this is the elevation that faces to the east. The elevation faces towards Slater Street. The last thing is, I'll do the bottom elevation first. That is, the bottom elevation is, again, the west elevation. You can see down here at the bottom, you can see at the bottom of the hill of IKEA Way, that is an entry into the lower level parking structure. So again, using the topography to provide access to both levels of the parking structure. And then on the front, this is the upper level, the upper elevation. This is the elevation that will be facing on the Shining Mission Parkway. Couple of amenities that are going to be here. You can see it here, it'll be an infinity pool, a large courtyard here. There's also an interior courtyard to the building. Again, a large amount of space for gathering, a large amount of space for activities. Again, architecture is similar to what we see on the south side, but again, different enough to differentiate the 2 different developments. So that kind of just wrap it up, and be happy to answer any questions. A little bit about parking. The commercial parking, we calculated the need to provide about 109 spaces, they're providing 188 spaces. So we're providing ample parking on the commercial side. On the residential side, code requires 2 spaces per unit, which equates to 424 spaces. They're providing 333 spaces, very similar to what they did on the south side. They are provided information from the Institute of Transportation Engineers, ITE, that indicates that our parking requirements for apartments are excessive, and staff would agree, and that they're asking to reduce that to 1.5 stalls per dwelling space. Again, the exact same parking ratios that are on the south side of the development. You mentioned pedestrian circulation, putting in the additional crosswalk, sign scheme. So I think, just in conclusion, again, as we mentioned earlier, this is a significant redevelopment for the city. It's going to, proposal brings in a grocery store, something that the community has consistently said that they're looking to see come back after the HenHouse left. This development, as proposed, could potentially provide that for the city. So with that, staff will be happy to answer your questions.
Does the commission have any questions for the staff?
Has there been any proposed phasing for structure construction order?
Sure. The east block, so the block with the commercial area, that is the start, this being part that will start first. They're anticipating and hoping to have the grocery store open and operational by fall of next year. And then from there, they will start on the west block, that's the apartment complex. The west block, a little bit of timing that's going to depend on, they will obviously have to do some significant remediation of the Shell station, so kind of depends on how the remediation goes, but they do plan on doing the east block first and then transitioning to the west.
John? Yep, couple questions. In the traffic impact study, the analysis was talking about conditions may warrant dual left turn lanes from southbound Antioch Road to eastbound Chunwishan Parkway. The installation of the second left lane will require additional right-of-way for the east side of Antioch. If that were to occur, based on this traffic study, who would be responsible for paying for that, both in its construction and its engineering?
Sure. So what that comment was to is, if there was additional redevelopment at this corner, i.e. if the US Bank corner were to be redeveloped, there would be anticipated that the additional traffic at that point in time would warrant double left turn lanes. Really, the purpose of the double left turn lanes is to shorten the queuing lane, to allow more cars in a shorter space there. And what would happen there would be, obviously that corner would dedicate right away for the additional area, and then that would be a responsibility, the city would feel that's a responsibility of the redevelopment corner to have them to do that installation.
Next item I had, I'll save that one for last. On the signage, did they give a reasoning or justification for why they wanted 4 signs on the side of the facade for lot 3 instead of 3?
They did not, however, I would say that it is a typical request, particularly a lot that's on the corner. So all 4 sides of that building is going to be highly visible. I would say it's not atypical and something that would be anticipated, again, the high visibility of that corner.
And 2 more questions. One of them being in regards to the level of effort that we as a city have put into working with the developer to attempt to bring in a grocery store. And this may not be the purview of me to ask this question. Please feel free to tell me it isn't. What are the ramifications if then there isn't a grocery store? Would we still be living on this development, or?
No, I understand your question, and that really not necessarily is in planning commission's purview, but I don't have a problem with discussing that. This city council this is scheduled, if it goes forward, to be in the June 16th meeting, I believe, if I'm correct. The city council at that point will consider a number of different public-private partnership agreements with them. One of the biggest thing will be the redevelopment agreement. I think it's safe to say that because of the grocery store, we have been extraordinarily creative in how to get this project to where it's at today. So yes, that grocery store has been a significant incentive for the city to get this project this far.
And I would say thank you for that, to all of you, I do appreciate that. And I do appreciate your response to that, even though it isn't necessarily the purview of this group. Last one is, in terms of the traffic, or pedestrian traffic and the crosswalk, on, IKEA Way / EV, moving to the east side of that intersection. I think currently the crosswalk's on the west side.
Yeah, currently it's here located on the west side. It will remain, it's not going away.
Okay, there'll be one on both sides?
Yep, it is not going away.
And I think, the developers will know my disappointment in alternatives to that, being a physical crosswalk across the road that people run that light constantly. I understand that that becomes difficult, with the accommodations we're making to attempt to get a grocery store in here, and the only reason I'm not being more vocal than I am about that, so I do appreciate the efforts. That was more of a statement than a question, other than just clarification that there'd be both, crosswalks on both sides of it. Thanks.
To kind of follow up with Sean's question about signage, I couldn't see, and maybe I just missed it, but on the building signage, are those lit from within? Are they backlit? Are they, I'm just wondering about what light pollution may come out from those for that.
Those would be typical channel lit signs, exactly what you see on the south side.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing, no like front lit ones or anything like that, just typical channel lit, internal channel lit signs, what you see on the south side.
Okay.
I have a question regarding parking. You mentioned on the east side that it's currently ample. If in the future it becomes apparent that that might be excessive parking, how difficult do you imagine it being repurposing some of that parking for different use?
Sure. So obviously the tenant in that building is going to drive the parking requirements. And if there was, we don't hope, we're already planning for a tenant change anytime soon. If there was a change in tenancy, if there was another building or something placed in that parking lot, and the parking worked such that it still have adequate parking for a new building, someone could come back through with a development plan or preliminary development plan just like this, and show that new building there, so you all get the opportunity to review it from purposes of parking and how it works with everything else. But it would, I should say simply, it would require a preliminary development plan.
Thank you.
Brian, I didn't hear you mention it, but there is a adult daycare that's on the corner options.
Sure. No, that, I apologize, I mean, that probably is a little confusing the way I said that. So, right now, so this, you can see the cursor, the white building that, white topped building that is at the southeast corner of Slater and West 62nd Terrace. That is the Possibilities building. They're not a daycare, but they do provide services for children. But directly across the street, so directly north of that building, that is the location of a current daycare that's been there for a number of years. So this is the building this is the organization or the office that will be moving to a new location over on Maston.
Okay.
With Chipotle remaining in place, has there been any additional requests from the city for construction protection, fencing, bales in the storm drains? Or is it more typical?
So it's in regards to once the development starts?
Yes, maintaining Chipotle's property during construction.
Well, so there will be construction fencing once everything starts, and once, so everything will be fenced off and made as safe as possible for a construction site. And there'll also be, stormwater, the SWIP plan, so the stormwater pollution plan, will be submitted, once they start doing the grading and disturbing the area. So we'll be reviewing that, obviously, and make sure the installation of any kind of gutter protections and things like that will occur.
I did think of one other item in terms of those vision triangles, or the traffic vision triangles. In terms of the one at West 62nd Terrace going on to Antioch, and especially on the, well, more to the south side of 62nd Terrace. That elevation is pretty intense, and with the retaining walls that they are putting in, I know you said they're redesigning those. You know, that's I think we all know, and we've turned on that one, it's a pretty treacherous corner. Does that need to be a more aggressive vision corner, or do you think the plans that you put forth to them what you've stated in here is adequate for that specific corner?
So, the city engineers reviewed it, Public Works has reviewed it, based upon our standards, and they're doing what we requested them to do and what we're required to do. Again, they're are moving it even further out, from it, and again, where that wall is today, it's gonna be much different when this is done. So, and just a little bit more about the reason why that wall is there. Let me see if I have a good, yeah, it's right here. So the reason that wall is there, it's kind of hard to see, but right here is a leader line to a vault. I think we're all aware, considering all the cones that are up there, we are working on, Evergy is working on behalf of the city to do undergrounding of all utilities on Shawnee Mission Parkway. And also as part of that project, there will be undergrounding all the utilities along Antioch on this side, so the west side of Antioch. So all utilities to Antioch will be underground, and this vault is a particularly important point to get the utilities under 62nd Terrace. So that's why, that's one of the primary reasons that wall, they had to put the wall there, because had to get the vault there.
Sure, but that sounds like it'll make it a little lower and a little less intense than it is currently.
Right, because you'll be able to see further to the street, you won't see poles, the poles will be gone.
Perfect.
So, it will be an improvement to what it is today, there's no doubt about it.
Perfect.
Okay, on the final Drake development letter, Brian, I couldn't find the sign-in sheet exhibit.
Apologize, just simply, I can get you that,
It just needs to be put in the package.
sure, I will send that out to the plan commissioner, sorry about that.
Yeah, that needs taken care of. Down on the crosswalk, down on Avey and Shelby National, the new one. I guess if we put in a Hawkeye there, that would kind of cluster up traffic.
Yes, it would, and we all have to remember that is, KDOT's domain.
Yes.
So, just a little bit more on the crosswalk, it will have push button activated, so it's more than just paint. Push buttons, it's the signs, it's everything that goes with the crosswalk.
So it'll have everything, all 88, noise buttons, all that stuff.
Yep.
Will it be one that has the flashing stop, or will it just have the, because I'm wondering if it seems to be like the ones that you see like on Johnson Drive that are the stop.
They do not, no,
Okay.
it'll be just like a normal crosswalk.
Okay.
When the light goes red, you'll get the walk sign to walk across, so it'll be like crosswalk, like a typical one you can think of.
Timed, right?
Correct.
Okay, so for the stormwater, we reduced it 5% up on that hill, which, what's the slope going to be for the remaining water when we get done with new? Is it gonna slope back to Shawnee Mission Parkway and then head off Turkey Creek, or is it gonna come down Slater and Antioch and?
That, I believe, I believe that does go, continues on, across. I really don't, since I didn't have to put together a plan, I didn't necessarily look at it. I know our city engineer looked at it quite a bit. The applicant may be able to get a little more insight as to where all that stormwater is gonna end up going, because unlike the south side where there was a defined problem where we had them correct that problem, Public Works and city engineers said that they do not have any problems with the stormwater conveyance from this side. So, you know, other than making sure they got the BMPs in place, that was my level of review since the engineer said it was good to go.
Let me redirect that. It would be very nice. The majority of that water would go to the south and go down Shawnee Mission, down to Turkey Creek, and not come down Slater or IKEA, or come down to the new community center, or down Antioch to any of the residence areas or wherever. Even with the reduction of 5% up there, that's a lot of water once that new pavement and everything is put down, if it's not slope away from everybody, it's gonna cause an issue.
I do believe it actually goes, so the in-ground storm sewer system, I believe, does go out to Antioch, if I remember correctly.
So can you look at that and give me an answer for that?
Yeah, like I said, I think the applicant may also be able to address it. I think one of them goes down to Antioch, and Antioch travels on down to Quaker, and then I'm guessing the other one does go out to Shawnee Mission and heads, again, this is all the underground, heads to the south. Again, reduction in impervious pavement, reduction, should mean the runoff is less, and obviously, as I mentioned earlier, it captures most of it up there already, so I'm not anticipating any changes in that.
So for the new buildings, are there any uplighting that's gonna be down on the ground? To
So-
light the buildings up?
So, that is part of one thing they need to provide for us for the west block. The east block, I do not believe there is any, but the west block they need to provide it. I'm not anticipating anything other than maybe some wall packs on the side of the building, just a typical accent lighting and safety lightings. But they will, provide a photometric plan for the west side to determine, to make sure there isn't any, lighting being shined off the parking lot. Excuse me, shining off the property.
So it will be uptight lighting hitting the building. 45.
If there is any, yes. Again, applicant could probably help address that as well. They readily said that they were still looking at the types of wall packs and stuff like that.
Question. That's all I have.
Brian, I have a question in addition to the stormwater. Is there any indication that the new buildings will be tight lined to storm, or will they be discharged on grade, or anything collected on the roof?
I imagine they will not be discharging on grade.
Okay, so they'll be tying right into the storm lines.
I'm guessing that's the case, but again, they'll probably have to answer that. I don't know if they're to that point yet, because those are typically what we do with the building permit level.
Okay.
But yeah, they might be able to address that.
Ryan, I have a question regarding mass transit, and say if the county came to Merriam with interest in some sort of westbound service, does this current plan kind of preclude us from having any sort of bus stop on that side? I know you said there was the pullout on the south side, but.
So it'd be, obviously, if there was to be bus service on westbound, it would most likely stop in Shawnee Mission Parkway like they do currently do right now. So there's nothing here that would preclude that same level of service, no.
Thank you.
Any other questions for for staff? Hearing none, does the applicant wish to make a presentation? Please state your name, company.
Good evening, members of the commission, Chair Bailey. Dave Olson, 7200 West 132nd, representing Drake Development, Slater Investors, LLC. To add to Brian's explanation, I really have nothing to add other than we're tremendously excited about it. I will take a minute on stormwater. First, buildings, all of the buildings are tied in underground. Directions, all of the drainage is still going in the same directions that are out there now. And everything's piped, and everything's approved, especially on the west block. So there were probably some drainage issues on the west block with the apartment design to tie that into IKLA. So I think being at the very tippy top of the hill, some does go north with grades of Antioch. There's nothing we can do about that. But for the most part, most of the water goes to Shawnee Mission Parkway and IKLA. So, in addition, as far as staff comments, conditions, we've read those, we understand those, we're in agreement with those. And with that, we ask for your approval. Thank you.
Does the commission have any further questions for the applicant? At this time, we will open this to public hearing for the item. Is there anyone from the public who would wish to make a comment? I will stipulate that we will limit comments to 5 minutes, and please state your name and address. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, my name's Jim Stanker, 6423 Hadley. Hey, I was just kind of curious if on the site plan here, Brian, if you could hover your mouse on top of where the grocery store is supposed to be. That's the grocery store. Okay, and so the other is the restaurants. That would be the restaurants there. Okay, just as a curiosity, you had referenced the fact that HenHouse was the last grocery store that we had in Merriam. What was the square footage of the HenHouse?
We'll take on all the comments and questions, and then I will answer them all after we get done. But yes, that's
Okay.
a good question. We'll be happy to answer.
Thank you.
This is a family affair. I'm Terry Stanker and I live at 6423 Hadley. Vernon Place, for those who don't know, probably most people do, but it's the little subdivision that's right there. Okay, the grocery store I thought was gonna be a for sure thing. When you say potential, it was a potential on the other side and we didn't get it. So what would we do as a city? Because I know the whole city wants the grocery store. I'll be anxious to hear how big HenHouse was, because 12,000 square feet doesn't seem like a very big grocery store. So if you could give us an example of what kind of a store could go in that size. The other question is the traffic. Saturday night, I was coming home from Hy-Vee, and the traffic was backed up, both lanes going both sides for me to try to get into my neighborhood. Somebody did let me in, but they were blocking the streets. What are we gonna do about the traffic? Because if they put the cars for the, I'm totally against the apartments, but probably don't have any say in that. But with the apartments on one side and on both sides, we're potentially adding 1,000 cars to that little area. What are we gonna do for traffic? That's our major thing, because we're kind of really blocked in there. And if you go west to Shawnee, forget it. You know, so that's, I'm going over my notes to make sure I got. So Jim asked about the grocery store size, so that was the other thing. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Frisby, 6121 Hemlock Street. You had talked about 2 left turn lanes, I believe, on southbound Antioch at Shunmission Parkway. Is there anything about a right turn lane on southbound Antioch there at Shunmission Parkway? Because that is, really gets backed up quite a bit. That was my question.
You'll answer.
Okay.
And we're taking down questions right now.
Billy Croan, 6633 Wedd Street. Corporate welfare, that is the reason that we lost the HenHouse, if you recall. We provided Merriam Town Center with several years of corporate welfare paid for by our tax money. Town Center is where Cinemark and Home Depot are today, for those who are not familiar. When the corporate welfare ran out and rent went up to normal market rates, we lost the grocery store. That was not that long ago. Loss, disruption, vacant buildings, those are the costs of corporate welfare. And if our government signs up to spend our tax money providing more corporate welfare today, our community will pay that price in the future, as we did last time. It is unfortunate to repeat those same mistakes. So it's nice that we may be getting a new grocery store, and hopefully will, but it hints at amnesia that we're using corporate welfare to get another grocery store yet again. I like the construction plans. Aesthetically, it's really awesome. My kudos, it's really cool, guys. I like it a lot, both the apartment building and the grocery store. It's beautiful architecture. It's gonna match really well with Grand Station. They should easily be able to be profitable on their own without using our tax money to give the land away to them for free. That our city buy it and it's gonna pay to demolish the library and then give it to them. It just seems like a bit unnecessary. I'm also a little concerned about the square footage of the grocery store, as my neighbor Jim and Terry mentioned earlier. 12,500 is a pretty small grocery store. This room, I just did some rough math while we were having a meeting earlier, is roughly 2,100 square feet. So about 6 times this room is what we're talking about for this potential new grocery store. And that, you know, takes into account, it's gonna need restrooms, an admin office, a loading and unloading area, checkouts, all those other things are gonna subtract from where our actual groceries are. So it's definitely not gonna be as big as HenHouse was. Although I look forward to hearing the square footage. I'm sure Brian has it by now. Those are my thoughts. Thank you for listening, and I hope some of my neighbors here tonight, some more of them, will share theirs as well. Thank you.
Any more comments from the public? Go ahead.
Lindell Clark, 6626 Goodman. I just want to know, Merriam used to say up there, just right, you know, but you guys are kind of changing that. Whose idea is it to add all this apartments and stuff, this other kind of this housing? I don't know if that's the planning commission or who comes up with that. I mean, we are a very small city. We're not like these other cities around. We don't need to try to be like Woodland Park. You know, we're happy the way we are. You know, really, if you took that other area over there where you plan on putting the housing, that's a great area for the grocery store, and about the right size too. I mean, I just don't get why you're trying to crowd more people and more cars in a tiny little area.
We agree.
Any further comments from the public? Yes, sir.
Ronald Wilkins, 9100 West 51st Street. Thank you all for at least hearing us out for how we feel about everything going on. Development has been a massive thing, not just here in town, but a lot of other places. For me, working for a bank, I see a lot of people come in and have these ideas of housing, especially corporations that buy a lot of them, apartment complexes going up. And the thing that I always get concerned with is when it comes to development, is the idea of what happens to property taxes. It's a good idea to develop a city to like bring in new ideas, new things to help the community. But when we start jumbling it more towards the idea of, well, we can try to bring more people to the area by adding these things that seem to not so much push people out of the area they're in their community, but to add more to the idea of it's going to cost more just to kind of be where you are, that's when you kind of start outgrowing those options. We already have the apartment complex that built on the opposite side of Shine Mission Parkway, which after they took away the Kmart, the Sears, everything else that was there at the time, cool, it was a good way to develop that because nothing was going on with that building. I was going by that place many a times, wondering what it was always gonna turn into, wondering what they're gonna do with it. Shoot, I even thought at that point that was gonna become a grocery store. But after I saw it develop, I saw that they're adding the different restaurants on that side too, how they're trying to develop and try to just give back to the community, making sure everything was at least up to modern kind of things. And I think the thing that kind of hurts me the most, and probably a lot of the people here, is the idea of, we have this idea of the developers wanting to build the apartment complexes, fine. The problem is the fact that the grocery store is being used as a scapegoat, kind of like an afterthought. And the reason behind that is because, number one, I don't know if any of you know what grocery store is supposed to go in there. And number two, if we can be assured that it's going to stay. Because as was already mentioned, the grocery store that we had prior wanted to stay in Merriam, but because the pricing went so high on the rent for it, they couldn't do it any longer. And what do we get out of it? A furniture store that I haven't seen too many people go to. And then now we have the Party City that used to be there that also went out of business because they couldn't afford it either. Granted, they went bankrupt. But especially in a place like John Mission Parkway where traffic is heavy, we already talked about people running lights, it raises a concern for safety also. And I know that there's a lot of things that we can't do on that city block because it's not in the jurisdiction of Merriam. But even with that being said, I think that should be a stronger consideration about the idea of what we're doing to that area. Of course, the traffic's gonna be clustered, but I mean, we already talked about it before, you heard everyone talk about it. There's a lot of people that run those lights, especially flying down Shine Mission Parkway in general. And even if we put a crosswalk up there, that's not gonna stop a drunk driver. That's not gonna stop someone who thinks they're late to work and need to get there in a hurry. It's not gonna stop the road ragers who are trying to get and weave out traffic. I don't mind the project itself, but at the same time, I don't feel like it was developed in a way that had the full intention of the current residents in mind, and more of the idea of, well, as a city, we think this would be good. Now we'll release it to the public and let them hear what they may think about it and say, well, yeah, you may not like it, but we think it's still good for you, kind of thing, if that makes sense. And that's just kind of my concern with this whole thing, because yes, everyone's been asking for a grocery store. I think that would have been the greatest priority for anything, because I've heard so many people mention about how it's gone. We only have Hy-Vee, Price Chopper way down the way off of Shine Mission Parkway. And I was just like, oh, well, you may get one, but it's not for sure thing. And it was already brought up, hey, if we don't get it, what are the ramifications of that? And the sad part about it is, if development is already starting, how big can those ramifications be to stop that development if we already have lost the idea of getting that grocery store in the first place? So, that's about it.
Thank you. Any further comments from the public? Yes, sir.
My name's Kevin Ashman. I'm at 84 Terrace. My concern is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but going north on Antioch, if you want to go west on 62nd Terrace, you mentioned a turn lane that would be shared by the vehicles going eastbound on Shawnee Mission Parkway, going south on Antioch to go eastbound on Shawnee Mission Parkway. So you're not talking about sharing a turn lane there between the cars going north on Antioch to go west on 62nd Terrace, and then, because that's not much distance between Shawnee Mission Parkway and 62nd Terrace. I don't know exactly how much
that, how long that is, but I mean, that eastbound turn lane to eastbound Shawnee Mission Parkway from southbound Antioch gets jammed. So if you're trying to go north on Antioch and then take a left on 62nd Terrace, it's gonna be hard to do, it seems, just from the plans. And the other thing I wanted to bring up was, it is really difficult to get across Shawnee Mission Parkway at the crosswalk at Antioch. You're really doing no one any favors. It's almost like window dressing to put another crosswalk on IKEA Way, because it's gonna be the same thing. It's just, the lights aren't long enough for people to get across the street. So, you know, unless you petition the state and say, we need a minute and 15 seconds instead of 45 seconds or whatever it is, I think we need to do that, because you're adding a lot of people to that corner, and hopefully they're gonna be using, you know, crossing Shawnee Mission Parkway a lot. So those are just some considerations that I think would be important. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, the closed public hearing. Does the commission have any further questions for the staff?
Just real quick, I'll run through some of the questions that I heard.
That's where we're at.
Okay, let me do that, and if I don't hit all the questions you all heard, you can ask them to me as well. HenHouse square footage, it is, I looked it up real quick, it looks like I think the last thing we had in there, I believe was about 55,000 square feet. So, there's another question about what grocery stores, these are, the majority of the grocery stores are your Aldi's, your Whole Foods, your Sprouts, these are about the size of those grocery stores. So this is, this grocery store size, that is typical. I do think it's safe to say that it is going, most likely will be a national grocer in there. Somebody that will know who, and everybody will recognize whatever name it is. So, questions about the surety of that. I believe the applicant is in heavy negotiations and probably is really close to finalizing, not finalizing that deal. So I think it's pretty confident that's going to happen. Just always say me proposed, because until you walk through that door, everything's subject to change. So that is, as you know, the development business for this many years, that's the safe way to go. I think there was a question about a dedicated right turn lane on northbound Antioch to dedicated. Pardon?
It was southbound Antioch.
Thank you. Apologize for that. Southbound Antioch to go take a right onto Shawnee Mission Parkway. There will be no, the current lane configuration is going to stay the same for that aspect, so there'll still be dedicated throughs, there won't be a dedicated right. And the reason for that is that there's not enough right of way there now to make that happen. So there's not, will not be a change in a new dedicated right turn lane. There was a question about the two-way left turn lane. That is, as you see it here, right here. So that is where's the two-way left, because you have to remember you have the bank over here. So the bank has an entrance on the Antioch, and then I believe, and I'll let the applicant tell me if I'm wrong, I believe it turns into a dedicated left turn lane as you get further, go further south, as you get closer to Shawnee Mission Parkway. So really this purpose of this is to make sure that folks can get into the bank if they need to get into the bank. Crosswalk, yes. The city and everybody is aware that the crosswalk timing is challenging. Not to add more acronyms and agencies into the mix, but Shawnee Mission Parkway traffic lights are controlled by Operation Greenlight, which is a program that's run by Mid-America Regional Council that operates the traffic lights to make them work sequentially as best as possible to facilitate traffic east and westbound along Shawnee Mission Parkway, all from, essentially from Overland Park all the way out to Shawnee. So there will be discussions, and we will be having discussions with them in regards to timing changes to try to change and modify the timing to allow a longer walk sign. So those are the questions I heard. I'll be happy to answer questions that the commission may have.
Did we answer all the public questions?
What does that do for property taxes?
There is no anticipation of changing property taxes because of this project.
Any other questions? Probably didn't get answered.
What is the plan for the traffic? I mean, what are we gonna do with 1,000 more cars and the commercial? What's the plan for the traffic? I mean, how do we control that?
And so the traffic impact analysis said that the improvement required was for this project. Now, to improve all traffic would take a fundamental change of the intersection and of the area. I will say that the city is working right now to look at the traffic along Shawnee Mission Parkway, not just this project, but along Shawnee Mission Parkway and at the interchange of I-35, to put together an idea of what is an improvement and how to improve that area. The purpose of that study is to be prepared for when KDOT has their next round of funding for the purposes of trying, going to KDOT and trying to obtain funds to improve that whole corridor. So we are working on that. So.
Yeah, just a clarification on the center turn lane to go from Antioch on to 62nd Terrace. That center turn lane to allow people to either turn west on the 62nd Terrace or from the other direction you turn into the bank is to provide that, A, but B, the idea that we may have to increase 2 left turn lanes from Antioch onto Shawnee Mission Parkway is to, in my mind, to prevent that backup, because I see it too, of traffic down the northerly direction of Antioch that blocks that left turn.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay, okay. That makes me feel a little better in terms of that.
Is there still a turn lane from Shawnee, there is still a turn lane on Shawnee Mission Parkway onto IKEA Way?
Yes.
So is there any talk about maybe making that a little bit longer of a turn lane so to encourage the potential apartment people to use that entrance instead of coming through Slater or?
So it's anticipated the majority of that apartment traffic will be, that's how they will be.
Because that's where the entrance is to the parking garage, yeah.
And there's currently right there is traffic analysis to indicate there's plenty of stacking capacity for the.
Public comments have been closed, but I'll go ahead and recognize you,
I just, should I come up there?
please.
I have a question for the city. I'm Terry Stanker. What would be the draw to having the apartment buildings as opposed to a larger grocery store? Like what they said about putting the grocery store in the, what's the draw for the apartments? What does the city get out of that? As opposed to a grocery store where people would be coming in, you'd be getting taxes from it. I just personally don't understand what the apartment buildings would be doing for the city of Merriam except adding traffic. If you could answer that. Is this a done deal? I mean, is there any way we could switch that, or is the apartments a done deal?
The city does not get to pick and choose how these developments come to us. As you all know, at the planning commission, we're responding to what the applicant brings to us. We don't, as you all as commissioners know, respond to these, you aren't able, nor it's not really your capacity, since you aren't the property owner, to dictate what type of development comes to you. You must review in regards to the zoning classification, as well as what's in the zoning ordinance. So, this is the application that's been brought to you. I don't think we get the ability to say we would like this there and that there, unless it meets some of the listed violates some of the standards that are within your code.
Any additional questions for the staff, commission? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I move that the planning commission forward a recommendation of approval to the city council for RC 25-000001/PUD 25-000001. A rezoning to a PUD district with use restrictions and the associated preliminary development plan for the property generally bounded by IKEA with 62nd Terrace, Antioch Road, and Shannon Parkway, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report.
Second.
Second.
God, the rubber stamp.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Or you guys, fuck you all.
Nancy, did you get the name? Did I hear name? Name. Thank you.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I need to speak out of turn. I'm unclear as to why this isn't being presented for the neighbors, why we're not being made aware of this. I remember when Menards wanted to come in, the neighbors were very well acquainted with what is going on, and it doesn't seem like that's been happening with this development. And we're Merriam. We're not way out south. We have a lot of neighbors here who've lived here forever, and we're real concerned about what's happening right now. And we know, I'm especially concerned with the words possibly, and I haven't heard that remains to be seen, but it doesn't seem like we have a really solid concrete plan to go forward. And as a resident, right across from the apartments, I'm really concerned about that. The traffic is intense. You can't get out of where I live. I mean, I don't know whether anybody's bothered to look at Antioch Park and find out if poop bags are being dropped for dogs over there. I mean, I haven't had time to do that, but I mean, it's an awful lot of people in a very small space. And I'm sorry I spoke out of turn, but I've been sitting here thinking, what in the world do these people need to hear before they come to the people that live in Merriam? That's all I'm gonna say. I'm sorry for interrupting. Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, you can't be doing this stuff without consulting the neighbors who've lived here forever. So, sorry that barge in there, but I had to.
Thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
Next order of business is PA 25-000002, Grand Station Marketplace Final Plat. The next item on the agenda, request approval of the Grand Station Marketplace Final Plat for the property generally bounded by IKEA Way, West 62nd Street, Antioch Road, and Shawnee Parkway. Mr. Dyer.
Yeah, this is real brief. This is the plat that corresponds with the preliminary development plan that you just recommend approval of. And obviously, as you can see, it's 3 lots. It does not include the Chipotle property. And the west lot, so the lot that's on the west side of Slater is 1 lot. That would be the apartment complex. And then the east property, the east block, That is divided into 2 lots, one that will have the restaurant and the other one that will have the grocery store. So, with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the commission? Mr. Dyer? Is the applicant here, you should make any presentation?
Again, Dave Olson, representing Direct Development and Slater Investors. Nothing notable to add. Thank you.
Does the commission have any questions for the applicant? Hearing none, is there a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion, I move that the planning commission approve PA 25-000002 Grand Station Marketplace final plat for property generally bounded by IQA, West 62nd Terrace, Antioch Road, Shine Mission Parkway, and forwarding it to the city council for the acceptance of easements and right-of-way dedicated by the plat.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carries. Mr. Dyer, business from the floor.
No business for, just a little bit of update. Mentioned it earlier that we continue to have the undergrounding going on the utilities in Shine Mission Parkway. That is hopefully going to be wrapped up by July. Also, the south side of the Merriam Grand Station project that just anticipating having that wrapped up into May, 1st of June. That is scheduled. We have partial occupancy of the west apartment building, and we also have the last finish.
Yeah, there was one. What?
Just notify Michigan before that the landscape has to grow along Shine Mission Parkway, that will have a late. After we're done, I will talk to the cleaning and returning back into the landscape. So, that's really my big update. Happy to answer any questions.
Is Cinemark beginning their renovations for the gamescape?
That's an excellent question. So Cinemark vacillated between, I think I may have mentioned, you all approved as part of your development plan, approved an entertainment center in there. They vacillated between that and going back to just remodeling all the theaters, and then went back and forth. They did finally pull a building permit just to remodel the remaining theaters. We believe there's 20 theaters in there, and they've done half of them, and not even one theater. They're not doing the entertainment. Happy to answer any other questions. If you don't have any other questions, I do have an announcement to make. Alright, looks like they haven't got any applications in for our June meeting, and we don't have a July meeting. Means this is the last time you're going to see our recording secretary recording. You're going to retire. Wish her all the best of luck.
Enjoy the retirement.
I can't, Ms. Yocum, I can't say enough, give her enough accolades for all she does for us. You all just see a very small sliver of what she does to keep community development department going. The daily permitting and things like that she would be greatly missed, and I would be remiss if I hadn't let you know. So if you get the opportunity, please give her congratulations and wish her luck.
We congratulate you in your new life. Wish appreciate everything that you've done for the city. I've known you for a long time, and, really appreciate the friendship and the work that you've done for the city.
It's been an honor to, you know, in my capacity, you know, help out with the planning commission and work here at the city. We've made a lot of great friends and a lot of fun, wonderful memories, and I'm very proud to be a resident of Merriam, and I love our city.
I second what Bill says, and congratulations.
Do you have a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Yeah.
Building colors, things like that. Policy, honestly, the stuff I spoke about.
Yeah.
Really more listening.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just was curious, I mean, where we live is, we live on Hemlock, and that's where that Quaker drainage district is right behind our house. And so that's one of the reasons I was interested in hearing what was going on here, is because that's why they built that, was from Keaton. And how that's gonna change, where the stormwater's gonna go. When you say Quaker, I'm like, that's us. That's in my backyard.
Every time they build one, there's all the maple service rooftops, parking lots, none of the rooms are on water. What do we need more for you?
Well, that's the thing, is I don't understand it. I mean, and that is the thing, is someone that is asking me, it's because I know you don't have a choice.
I would imagine people wants more urban voters.
Yeah. Yeah, and the only thing I do worry about the apartments is any part of it dedicated towards low income, like they have to do in Kansas, Missouri.
So far, the council has asked for low income or low income.
Really? You know, those apartments though, I have people that are looking for apartments and you rent them. People rent them. I have no people that can't afford that kind of thing, and they can't find it here.
Right now, we got a really good deal on it. But it was a reasonable price, like I would buy, even into it.
Yeah.
And a nice building like that, yeah. Infinity pool and a gym, somebody else has to make.
Yeah.
There's definitely some benefits to it.
I didn't really look that
But I do like paying the lawn.
Yeah.
Like not having my own
Yeah. Well, always my big concern too is just like how we got railroaded with the community center. We voted on one thing and we got something else.
And the library too, right?
Yeah.
The community was surveyed what things they want on the community center. The library was on the questions list, and the citizens ranked it last.
Yeah.
Less desirable than indoor shooting range. Rock climbing, more people wanted those things than the library.
Yeah, well, the library's right in the middle, so that's why they changed it all around. And I'm like, well, that's not what we voted for.
After we voted to approve bond, debt, and all that stuff, then they changed the plans. Nancy Hubb was the council person at the time, and also a library board member. And that was just part of it. She recused herself from that, but I mean, like, she was fine. Yeah,
Yeah, that was always kind of my thought, is I wanna see what we're gonna get, and make sure that what they say we're gonna get, we're gonna get.
We gave them that land for $1 to build a library on.
Yeah.
You know how much they paid for the library that they abandoned, the old building? $4 million.
Wow.
And we gotta pay for asbestos remediation too, before we demolish it.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah.
And then that land's gonna get developed.
Yeah.
Almost certainly, it's just been given to us.
Oh, yeah.
8 ball type, but I mean, there's a reason why the city acquired it, because it understood, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
On the positive side, we're not missing home.
Yeah, so at least it's not a mission.
That. I know this. New plans are sketchy.
Yeah.
It totally be possible.
That's always my thing. I mean, that's my thing with anything. Even like with the Royals and then you had Chiefs, I'm like, let them make their own damn stadium. Let their damn stadium. Why don't we?
But when they offer it,
Yeah.
but if you don't take it, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think our kids are getting money out.
I don't know.
They got one of the biggest.
Oh, did they? Oh, did they?
I knew they got big.
Okay. Yeah.
They're still mining.
You guys are, okay.
So I doubt I see them up in the.
Yeah, that, so acoustic dangerous, that was
Giant building.
Yeah, that's the,
Grocery store, certainly.
Yeah, I didn't look close to that, like, it was pretty
well, sounds like an IKEA.
That sounds like a Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's and all these.
Trader Joe's are only.
Council members know, probably planning commission also knows, but they can't say yet.
Yeah.
I work with lawyers every day. I know exactly, I read between the lines better than anybody in this entire room.
Come to council meeting on the 19th.
I thought Ryan said for a second, he said natural groceries. You heard that earlier?
Yeah, I did.
And then he said national
A
groceries.
national grocery.
He said Whole Foods, like Whole Foods are bigger.
Whole Foods are bigger.
I worked too many years with the military.
Trader Joe's. Yeah.
Trader Joe's are
Security clearance.
Oh, I have the same thing.
all these are bigger than that. But
Yeah, all these are bigger.
the Quick Trip, I looked it up.
I know, it's like all the secret guys up here.
And they sell milk and bread, so maybe you already have a grocery store.
Could be a Dollar General, there's some other stuff to go.
Yeah.
Well, I have said like a Dollar General grocery stores in places.
My neighbors are
I mean, yeah, I was somewhere.
Do you have a website where you put all that?
Yes. Yes. I call it, YouTube. If you search for Merriam Planning Commission, you find it.
YouTube?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, thank you guys.
My wife
We
wants
didn't turn it.
Yeah, we do. All
Yeah,
right.
I'll send you
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jasmine, could you get this, please?
25 days.
Yeah. If I don't know, I'll tell you.
Swipe it, sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, 'cause you're
Is that all
asking,
my
it was a
stuff?
good question, sorry, it was a good question, how many,
You don't have to leave yet, or just like you do it internally too.
Sure. I didn't have anything else to do in there, but looking for an LED on the, it's like by the keypad, right? It's green right now. If it changes to red, I'll knock twice.